We're getting closer and closer to the end of 2017 as a movie year. And before I do my top 10 best, I wanted to do the top 10 worst. Something that I've tried for both 2015 and 2016, but I found that I just haven't watched as many bad movies in the year. This year, I watched a lot of bad movies. They were great! But before we do those 10 worst movies of the year for me, here are, in ascending order, the dishonourable mentions.
As someday it may happen that a victim must be found, I've got a little list of society offenders who might well be underground and who never would be missed,
He's got them on the list, and they none of them be missed,
The Book of Henry. It is just so perplexingly misguided. It's 100% just in bad taste on nearly every single level, mainly the story. I don't know how I could really describe it. I've actually tried to describe this movie to a couple of people, and it's just such a struggle because everything that you watch in this movie is so fascinating in how no one looked at it and thought, maybe we shouldn't have a story about a boy who dies of a brain tumor halfway through, and then his mother has to assassinate their neighbor because the boy told her to, because the boy thinks that he's sexually assaulting his stepdaughter. Everything in this movie is so like, what the hell was Colin Trevorrow thinking? I'm actually kind of glad that he's not doing episode 9, because if this is the kind of movie that he has said he's so proud of, like he really is just so passionate about, he really wanted to tell this story, what do you think he would have done for Star Wars? Just, it's mind-boggling. It honestly is mind-boggling. There's nothing like it. Daddy's Home 2. There was no possibility that I would actually pay to see this movie. I saw the critical consensus. I watched plenty of reviews about this garbage, and I knew that I would not like it. And that was doubly true. It wastes talented people like Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg, John Lithgow, Linda Cardellini, nearly everyone who's in this movie. I keep thinking, why? Was this just a paycheck? Because that's what it feels like. Everyone is phoning it in. Not a single joke is funny. It keeps throwing it out at you, and I just keep thinking, go away from me, stop what you're doing. The worst part of it all is that people think that this is Mel Gibson's comeback. He's awful. He's totally awful in this movie. His character is just, it's like Mel Gibson wanted to play himself. This guy who likes to come around and slap women on the asses and tell his grandkids, yeah, that's what you should do. That's how you get women. Oh yeah, great message to families who are probably going to see this movie around Christmas time. No, screw this movie. I've already reviewed Geostorm on this channel. I went into great detail at just how bad it really was. And just in a nice, neat little bow, I can say that this kind of movie should not have been made. The 90s disaster movie died in the 90s. Roland Emmerich kept trying to bring it back in the 2000s with The Day After Tomorrow, and even with Independence Day Resurgence. And audiences said, no thank you, because the characters, the story, the effects, everything that the disaster movies stand for does not hold up anymore. So my question is, who said this was going to be a good idea? Was it the studio who said, oh yeah, this is going to be, a big money maker? Nope, this movie lost $100 million, and it was shot 3 years ago and heavily reshot since then with a different director. It just, this is another movie that is just so perplexingly stupid. I don't know who said, oh yeah, this is a good idea. There's nothing good. The only way I'd actually heard about this movie was thanks to Chris Stuckman doing a Hilariosity review on it. It's a fantastic review. He goes into much more detail than I possibly can. But I saw that and I thought, I have to watch this movie. Is it going to be as bad as Chris Stuckman made it out to be? Yeah, It's pretty goddamn bad. It could have just been a stupid direct-to-DVD movie where no one cares. Halle Berry, gives a fine-ish performance. I don't know, I guess. It's not as bad as Catwoman. But, she goes in, she does her role, there you go. But instead, it's like the filmmakers thought, oh yeah, we can make this terrible script that is a complete rip-off of every other Taken-ish movie that you've seen before, and really put in some epic stuff. Make it so dramatic. Make it mean something. Don't. This movie means nothing. Stop having your weird camera angles. Stop lingering on shots that don't mean anything. Stop having shitty ADR. Don't wrap this story up in the most cliche, cheesiest manner possible. It was fun to watch because of how terrible it was. I think it's actually probably the most fun bad movie in my top 10, but I cannot recommend anyone actually going out to see this hoping that it might be okay, because it's not. It's nowhere close. It's probably the most fascinatingly stupid movie, because it actually did sound and look decent from the trailers and from the premise. A Scandinavian murder mystery thriller with Michael Fassbender. Yeah, that sounds awesome. Sounds like The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. That was a good movie. But it was poorly placed, poorly written, poorly acted, poorly directed, poorly edited. It has some of the worst CG backgrounds I've ever seen in a movie that also has some fantastic location backgrounds for Norway. There's so many other subplot storylines that are also meant to be important, but then they're not, and they keep trying to shove one into the other like a game of terrible Jenga. The Snowman does not work on so many different levels. Who thought of, let's have a company of babies who are in competition with Puppy Co. for the love of humanity, and they send Alec Baldwin baby to Earth to infiltrate via corporate espionage Puppy Co. and sabotage their operations, and then return back to heaven where babies stay babies because they drink baby formula. What the fuck? I don't know. Who looked at these carefully animated scenes of a baby farting out baby powder and thought, cinematic brilliance right there? DreamWorks needs to take a good hard look at themselves. Chips is another painfully unfunny comedy on this list. This one wastes extremely talented actors like Michael Pena, Vincent D'Onofrio, Jane Kasmerick from Malcolm in the Middle, Dax Shepard's wife Kristen Bell. Every scene that they have, I keep thinking, why did you say yes to this? Who thought that anything in this movie was funny? Who thought this story was interesting? No one today watched the Chips TV show except for your 50-year-old mum who watched it back in the 70s. So my question is, what was the appeal? What was the actual appeal? Someone who's never seen a comedy before? Someone who doesn't know what humor is? Who thought that Dax Shepard was funny? Apparently Dax Shepard did, because he directed, wrote, produced, and starred in this in a kind of like Tommy Wiseau level of, wow, you're way too invested in this. Just please do not watch this. It was an absolute bore and physically uncomfortable to sit through. The Emoji Movie, what can I say about it that hasn't already been said? It never should have been a movie. It's one of the stupidest plot devices that I've ever seen in a major motion picture. Let's set everything in your phone. Not like the very interesting, complex video game world of Wreck-It Ralph or the insane, imagination-filled universe of the Lego Movie. No, let's make it in your phone so we can sell Just Dance and Spotify and Candy Crush. That's it. That's all this movie is. It's a one ginormous commercial for apps which half of which nobody plays anymore or nobody really cares about. It's an animated movie. People will go see it so we can just shove in a bunch of corporate bullshit that doesn't mean anything. I hated nearly every single second of this movie, but thankfully, the Emoji Movie is only just over 80 minutes long. Transformers The Last Night. Again, what can I say about it that I haven't already said in both my Transformers The Last Night review and my mega review of all 4 of the Transformers movies? They're all the same. There's nothing that separates one from the other. Transformers The Last Night, however, is different in one particular way. It is, and I hope that this sticks, the nail in the coffin of, hey, it's a Michael Bay Transformers movie where a bunch of shit blows up and there's lots of shaky cam and super duper contrast colors and people are going to go pay money to go see that. This was the lowest grossing Transformers movie. That gives me hope for humanity, that people out there said no to this. I'm so glad that we can stop giving Michael Bay money to just put a camera on some actors, exploit them in front of some just absolutely awful visual effects, then keep changing the aspect ratios like you have no idea how IMAX and normal cameras work in conjunction with each other. I'm so glad that we can stop all this. Thank you. Until the Bumblebee movie comes out. Whatever. Anyone who knows me well knows that I hated every single second of this trash pile. This is a film that truly fails on every single level that a movie, any normal movie, should succeed. Sure, I can forgive something like the Emoji Movie because that was just a bunch of bored executives thinking, oh, what movie can we create? Emojis and khakis, I don't know. Put some money behind it, get some actors, there you go. But 50 Shades Darker is based on a book series and has fans, and the executives should have looked at what made the first movie not work and say, all right, let's try and make something different. Let's try and make something actually good. They didn't. Instead, they decided, let's make something considerably worse than the first one. In fact, I would actually watch the first one right now over watching 50 Shades Darker. It fails in cinematography, writing, direction, acting, casting, costume design, editing, sound design, soundtrack choices, storytelling. That's the big one, storytelling. This movie, the story of it is just, who thought, oh, yeah, a movie is meant to have conflict that resolves itself with every single 5 minutes that happens. This movie is a piece of garbage. It is definitely, and I mean this with every fiber of my being, 50 Shades Darker is one of the worst movies I have ever seen. One redeeming thing is that I never have to talk about any of these movies again. So, my top 10 worst of the year. What did you think? Have you seen these movies? Do you disagree with me? Do you completely agree with me? Let me know your thoughts about my list in the comments below. There are going to be videos linked down here or one over there. For more Mr. Movies, please press my little face right there. Thanks for watching.